Hi, this is Arjan. In today's video we're going to talk about the if instruction. Take a look at this very simple example program. We have a main method that has two instructions. The first instruction is a declaration of a variable and an assignment. The second instruction writes the value of that variable to the screen. Let's run it. Now what if you want to write different things on the screen depending on the value of this score? In order to do that, you're going to need a program concept called the if instruction. And this is what it looks like. The if instruction consists of a few different parts. The keyword if, the condition. You always have to write a condition between parentheses, and the block of code that's going to be executed if the condition is true. And just like with methods or classes, a block of code is delimited by braces. In this case, there is a single instruction inside this block of code. And because we're using the if statement here, this instruction is only executed if score is larger than 500. Since we declared a variable here as a value of 1000, this condition evaluates to true and the block of code is executed. So nothing really changed actually, but we could print out a motivating text to the player that he has actually reached more than 500 points. Now if I were to change this number to say 5000 points, then this instruction would no longer be executed. Instead of having a single block of instructions, it's also possible to add an alternative. For example, so what you see here, let me just organize these blocks a little bit. What you see here is actually two blocks. This is the block that's executed if the condition evaluates the true. This is the block that's executed if the condition evaluates the false. And in order to distinguish between these two, you use the else statement. So if this is larger than 5000, we do that, otherwise we do that. And indeed, we did very badly. You can add multiple alternatives depending on the various conditions. So let's say if score is larger than 5000, we did really well, but let's say we want to add some in-between options so that the player can feel a bit better, that at least the program will be a bit more motivating. So we can do something like this. So here you see that we actually have an alternative that if the score is larger than 3000, we are writing something else on the screen, and we could add as many alternatives if we want here. So let's say we put the score to 4000, then this is the block that would be executed. If we increase it to, let's say, 6000, we get the other alternative. The condition here, you can write many different things. So in this case it's larger than 5000, but you could also change it to greater or equal to 5000, or less than 5000, or less than equal to 5000. The condition itself actually has a type. So just like integer is a type, condition is true or false, and things that are true or false also have a type in C#, and that type is called Boolean type. And you can actually declare a variable of a type Boolean, like this, and there is a shorter version which looks like this. And since a Boolean is true or false, you use the true or false keywords to indicate whether it's true or false. Now you can make more complicated conditions. Suppose you only want to write well done if the player is alive, because otherwise it would not be very nice to have a high score if you're dead. For that you can use logical operators. This is the logical AND. So if this evaluates the true and this evaluates the true, we write down this. So same goes for the score that's more than 3000. We also want the player to be alive. You have other logical operators. So this is AND, both have to be true. You also have OR, which means that either one of these should be true. And you can make, again, just like with computations, you can make any combination of logical operators to make very complex logical statements here. Since this is of type Boolean, and we can declare variables of type Boolean, you can also assign values to Booleans that way. So something like this, which may look pretty strange, is actually really valid C# code. We evaluate this condition here. It's either true or false, and the outcome of that expression is stored in the variable test. Now, since each if instruction and each alternative executes a block of other instructions, you can actually make these things pretty complicated. So let's say that you only want to write something to the screen and evaluate the score if the player is alive. So let's go back and remove these parts here. And what you can actually do is wrap this entire if instruction inside another if instruction. And then you get something that looks like this. So we have here an if instruction with the condition is alive. And if that condition evaluates the true, then this block of code is executed, which in turn is another if instruction with multiple alternatives. And by nesting these if instructions this way, you can create pretty complicated control paths in your code. Just to conclude, next to greater than, less than equal, we also have equals. That looks like this. So here, only if the score equals exactly 5000, this instruction is executed. The double equal sign means something else than the single equal sign, and you have to watch out. Double equal sign is a logical comparison that is part of an expression of type Boolean. So this part returns true or false. It simply compares the score with a value. This single equal sign is an assignment. It's a job that the computer does, which is assigning a value to the memory. So you're changing the memory. Here you're simply comparing the memory to a value. If you write a single assignment instruction in the if condition, the compiler will give an error because this is not allowed. And similarly, obviously, when you declare a variable, you should always use the single equal sign and not the double equal sign. Alright, so this concludes this video. Thanks for your attention.